It might be that a President Harris would be more aggressive than President Biden. We don't know. We don't really know about President Trump, but we do know that the American people support Ukraine, and that will continue.
Mr. Ambassador, let's start with the big question. How impactful will the upcoming U.S. election be for the future U.S. support for Ukraine?
Martin, of course it depends on the outcome of the election. Right now, the election is 50-50, so it could go either way. What we can say is that the American people support Ukraine, 60%. So whoever's in the White House next January knows that the American people, whom they represent, support Ukraine. So that's one thing we know. The second thing we know is that the support package, the funding for Ukraine, that $61 billion that passed our Congress this past spring, was supported by a bipartisan majority, which again suggests that no matter who's in the White House in January, there will be continued support for Ukraine. Of course there will be differences. Of course there will be differences. We saw in the debate recently, there was a different response from Vice President Harris than former President Trump. Different responses. But we don't know what their policies will be. We probably know more about what Vice President Harris's policy will be because they're of the administration. There'll be a continuation. She may be stronger than this administration. She may improve the support, increase the support. We don't really know about President Trump, former President Trump. So it's not a satisfactory answer to your question, but it's 50-50 and we don't know. But we do know that the American people support Ukraine, and that will continue.
But you do have some personal experience with Donald Trump. When he said that once he is elected, he will end the war within 24 hours. What do you think he meant by that? How does he plan to achieve that?
No idea. No idea. My bet is he hasn't figured out how he will end it in 24 hours. It doesn't depend solely on him, of course. I mean, it depends on the Ukrainian people and President Zelensky. It depends, of course, to some degree on President Putin. So I don't know how he ends it in 24 hours, and maybe no one does.
You touched upon that the American public is in majority in support of Ukraine, but there have been multiple warnings by US intelligence that Russia is trying to interfere in the US election and is trying to turn away American public against further support for Ukraine. Do you see that they are successful in some areas?
No. They've been trying to do that for 10 years. They've been trying intensively to do that for the last 2.5 years. They will continue to do that. This is what they do. But I don't think they will be successful. I think the American people understand the importance of a Ukraine victory. And the Russians can try to interfere with that. They can try to interfere in our elections. But I think they will fail.
Why do you think that the Harris administration would be more aggressive in its approach to helping Ukraine than the Biden administration?
I don't know that they will, but it is possible that they could be more aggressive. President Biden himself has been cautious about making decisions on weapon systems or on authorities to use those weapon systems at certain ranges. So he's been cautious. It might be that a President Harris would be more aggressive than President Biden. We don't know. She's already made some changes to the policy on other issues. So it is possible that she could be more aggressive.
Why do you think that the Biden administration has been so careful with its steps? For example, with allowing long-range strikes, why did it take so long? Why, after such a long pressure, are we just now discussing that it will be permitted?
There's a pattern here. The pattern is that the United States government, like a lot of governments around the world, even like the Ukrainian government, but certainly the United States government, has a system where competing ideas conflict within the administration. There are people in the administration who argue to provide these weapons right now. And there are other people in the administration who say, go slow. And within the administration, that argument goes on. It takes time to resolve that. But what we know, what we have seen, is that every time they've had a decision to make on HIMARS, on F-16s, on Abrams tanks, on ATACMS, on shooting into Russia within 10 kilometers of Kharkiv. Every time they've made the right decision. Every time they have thought about it, delayed, but in the end they get the right decision. They decide to provide those weapons or give the permission. And I think that will happen this time too.
A lot of the reason for this hesitation that people in Washington often cite is fear of escalation, fear of Russia's red lines. But we've seen time and again that these red lines, such as do not strike Crimea, do not send fighter jets to Ukraine, do not attack Russian sovereign soil, when they are broken, there is little repercussion from Russia's side.
So what does that tell us? That tells us that this whole idea of red lines makes no sense, is wrong. There are no red lines. I mean, there may be a red line in Putin's head, but nowhere else. So this whole concept of red lines, I think, is false, is faulty. And you're right. We've seen that every time. We've seen that when the Ukrainians go across the Russian border in Kursk, and nothing really happens. Yes, they've now started to push back, but there was no escalation. They don't have anything to escalate. They don't have anything conventional to escalate with, and they're not going to use nuclear weapons. So I think this whole idea of red lines is faulty.
So in that case, why do you think that this fear is so persistent in Washington and in some other Western capitals?
I don't know that it's persistent. I think there were times in the past where the view in Washington was caution, worry, but I think that caution and worry has gone down. And as I say, every time that a decision had to be made, they made the right decision and didn't worry about some hypothetical red line.
You were ambassador to Ukraine during the Bush administration, then briefly under President Obama, briefly under President Trump. Do you think that there was a moment in all these years that US could have taken some steps which could have averted the full-scale invasion, that could have put Ukraine to a better position than it is now?
Yes, absolutely. In 2008, at the Bucharest summit, on the agenda was a membership action plan for Ukraine and Georgia, by the way, to join NATO. A membership action plan. This was a plan that Ukraine would take step by step by step and get into NATO. And that was on the agenda in 2008 at the Bucharest NATO summit. And the Americans, President Bush, pushed very hard at that summit to get the answer to be yes. Start the membership action plan. Get Ukraine into NATO, on the path to get into NATO. President Bush tried so hard when he was flying to the summit in Bucharest. He didn't go straight to Bucharest. He flew first to Kyiv. And I was ambassador here when he came, and I welcomed him here. And he had meetings with the president, and the prime minister, and the defense minister, and journalists, and Ukrainians in non-governmental organizations, civil society. He had a lot of meetings with Ukrainians, and then he flew to Bucharest. And he tried very hard to convince the other NATO leaders that Ukraine should get a membership action plan. He failed. He didn't do the homework early enough to try to make that happen. But had he succeeded, then I don't think Russia would have invaded Georgia. I don't think Russia would have invaded Crimea, or Donbass. I don't think Russia would have invaded Ukraine in 2022.